Well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, for your joining us today. We are joining this Sunday morning from East Coast. Hi, how are you, Mahesh? How are you doing this Sunday morning?
Good, Simon. Good morning. Good morning. Looks like we have a good topic today in the Coffee with Pros. And
Exactly.
today we are going to talk about data and databases and hopefully um, learn something about community. How are you doing there? How's things? How's weather? How's everything there in Delhi?
Well, I'll tell you, it's almost like 47 and 48 degrees Celsius here in the capital. And you won't believe it, in past 10 days, we have had around like 10 to 12 earthquakes. So you
Oh,
don't want to
wow.
be, I mean, there's a lockdown, you cannot go out. But again, there's an earthquake, so you have to go outside. So we are in dilemma now, either to stay inside or to stay outside. So things are very challenging here. But all in all, this live shows that we have been doing from past couple of months have been really amazing, especially past 2 or 3 days were really exciting for the C Sharp Corner community, as we had an amazing Women in Tech conference. Also, we launched the beta version of live shows that we have, and one of the guests today was one of the speaker in the conference.
That's great. So let's talk about today's show. Well, hopefully things get better there in India, and here in Philadelphia, we also have same situation. Summer is here, pandemic is still going on, cases are still rising. So hopefully things get better. In the meantime, we shall continue these. Anything we can do to keep people busy, folks busy and learning.
Yep.
And today we're going to talk about data. So if you look at the history of data, since this um, web world has started. Today, we produce and consume the most data ever in a day. Like right now, we're talking, we are producing data. People who are watching, they're consuming data. This data is somewhere, somehow, in some ways, being stored on databases, right? There are about 4 billion people in the world. They consume data every day and they produce data every day. So think of the amount of data we are consuming and producing every day. Not only just as a human, we produce data, but even our cars, our cell phones, our any devices, you call them IoT, Internet of Things, or Internet of Everything's, every those thing is producing data, and it's somewhere somehow going from that device to somewhere on the internet. And if you look at the numbers today, every day we produce 2.5 quintillions bytes of data. It's just a lot of data. It's just we can't even imagine how big this data is. So one of the things we want to bring this to this show is that talk to somebody who works with data all the time, who manages people work with data and how they do things in the background, and maybe ask some questions. You, our users and viewers, have any questions related to data.
Yep, and I think we have been using data a lot, especially when it comes to machine learning and AI. The importance of data has grown a lot these days. I mean, the data that was just kept, now people have started processing it, and now they're getting insights from that data. So, quite an interesting topic to talk about. So, shall we invite the guest of the today in the show now?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
All
So
right.
there you go. Welcome,
Hey,
Monica.
everybody. You caught me mid drink with my C Sharp corner mug. Love
Hey,
it.
Well,
very good.
I
Looks
have.
nice. Looks great.
Thanks for having me today.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely, it's great. So, well, welcome to the show. This, I'm sure everybody's excited. Everybody who's watching the show, they're excited to have you here. Um, and then I would say you want to just go start with your introduction, a little bit talk about yourself, what you do, and we want to learn more about as a DBA. What do you do every day? Like when you are, you're going to work or working from home, you wake up, and then what do you really do every day as a DBA and managing people and anything else we don't know about, and how do you manage your day and get the things going on for everybody?
Well, given your intro, it sounds like I'm going to be employed forever because data is everywhere, right? And I chose the right field because we're going to have to exist as long as data exists. So it's pretty cool. I love what I do. I've been in the industry for about 20 some odd years. I'm not going to tell you how many, but straight out of college, I started with data, and I got my first job with zero database experience. It was awesome. I actually got my first career based on networking, which, I'm hoping we'll talk about how networking is so important. But I got a call from a sorority sister. I was in a sorority in college, and she let me know that a job was opening at the port and that they needed somebody. And so I was able to get an interview and get started and off and running. I was inside the database world and have been there ever since. Absolutely love it. It's like in my bones. Everything about data fascinates me. It's one of those things that I'm really happy that I got a career that I'm passionate about, right? I don't dread my job. I'm absolutely passionate about. But being a DBA is hard. It's a lot of work. It's 24/7. As you guys know, we don't get vacations, unless you're on a team. Vacation, what's that? We always have our laptops with us. There's always some production issue that has to be taken care of. It's something that becomes your baby, right? Something that these servers become a part of you, and you want to make sure they're up and running. So I've been doing data for a really long time. I spent, if you watch the Women in Tech conference, earlier, yesterday or day before, I was a lone DBA for 16 years. I did it all myself with no help and no education in how to do SQL Server specifically. So I had to learn and grow as everything came my way for 16 years. And you were saying what life is like as a DBA, especially by yourself. You get up 5 o'clock in the morning, you grab your phone, you look through for any alerts or anything that broke while you were asleep, because you got to get it fixed before everybody else gets in the office, right? So you grab the phone, you grab the laptop, you're brushing your teeth while you're running jobs and you're getting things going. And then you're getting your kids ready and breakfast while you're still working on jobs. And then you get to work and everybody's happy because things are up and running before they had to get their morning reports, right? So then you go through your day waiting for one thing or another to fall through the cracks, or whatever project you're working on, and you're juggling, trying to keep everybody else in the company who become your customers, right, happy and make sure they have all the data that they need while you're trying to make sure things are working. So
that's quite a job, huh? That's
Oh.
But I can imagine, right? I've been in IT industry for almost 23 years, and that's how we are, right? Data is very important. So you said you started this working with data with no experience.
Yeah.
What were the challenges? Like, obviously, we have in computer science, we have degree, right? We can go to programming degree. I did master's computer applications. That's where we learn, okay, what is compiler, what is meaning of data by storing in variables, and basics, basically very little tiny things. But looks like you just jumped in right in there. What were the challenges when you just you were in the networking in the beginning, and then now you are just start working with data? And I know it's been 20 years, but it's still the same challenges. What were those challenges, and how did you overcome those? Like, did you get help? And would you like to share something with our viewers?
I have a degree in information technology. So when I said I had no experience, I had a lot of book experience, right? And you took some classes. I learned C#, I learned COBOL, and I learned some other programming languages and different facets of IT. So I had some IT background. And while in college, I had 4 years of experience working in IT. But it was just minimal, right? Administration kind of thing. So I didn't go into data until after. Challenges is you don't know anything. You don't know what you don't know. So luckily for me, I got into community. There's a community out there of SQL Server people, all out there on Twitter and social media and stuff. And luckily I landed in the right group. They started showing me where all of the free training was and all of the available tools out there for me to learn SQL Server. And I just had to be a self-starter, right? Because the challenge is you don't know what you don't know when it comes to data. And how do you find out what you don't know, right? So it was a lot of stumbling and stuff like that, but going online and learning where everything was and learning where all the experts are, like on C#. And then there's a group called PASS, Professional Association for SQL Server. And the SQL family, we call it, is out on Twitter. And they helped me get through those challenges of learning, because you don't know what error means what, or what the data is supposed to look like, what the best practices for the servers are supposed to be, or how to fix whatever thing that just crashed that you've never touched before, right? So luckily, out on Twitter, there's this thing called a SQL help hashtag. And we have experts in the field, like the people who wrote SQL Server, watching this hashtag all the time, and they're able to answer questions. I've actually solved production issues where I didn't know anything, right? The challenges, I didn't know anything about it, online with people from Twitter who saved my butt 2:00 in the morning trying to get things up and running, right? Because we're all working 24/7, we're worldwide. Right. And so some of the challenges were, trying to fix something that you never touched before, but you only have a small amount of time to do that. And with no experience or knowing what it is or what to do, and you're just you, or, whether with the team, we all got to figure this stuff out. It was tough. It was tough.
So, that's great. So the SQL help, I guess that was direct from Microsoft SQL Server team.
So SQL help is actually the whole SQL Server community that's online on Twitter. There's some people from the Microsoft teams that are watching that. There are some people like myself who is now a consultant, or people who have written the books about specific topics and experts in whatever they are, watching that help hashtag, and you can pose your questions and they help you answer them, get answers, provide this, what is this next step? And they'll tell you what to do. And what is this error? And what does this mean? And I've done this and that. Am I doing something wrong? Can you help me? And that's how I survived when I was growing up in SQL Server.
So on C# Corner and our show, there's a lot of development. I would say majority of them are developers. I would say 80%, and 15% are data or database guys. If you have to give an advice to a developer, what do you think they should do besides coding from the data perspective? Anything you deal with, even developers, in your day-to-day job?
Get rid of your bad coding habits. So some people have a list of standards that they put in their code.
Yeah.
And then they put that everywhere. And sometimes those standards need to change over time. We no longer drop temp tables at the beginning of your store procedures or at the end of store procedures. SQL Server handles that better for you. There's no reason to do that. Well, you'll find it in everybody's blocks of code because it's something they're used to doing. Taking the time to look at your variable definitions, your data types, things like that. Many times people may be using varchar max or varchar 500 because they don't know what data they're going to be importing at some point in time. Well, over time, as you develop, you know what that data is. Make a change. If it is a state code and it's a 2-digit state code, make it two characters, right? Don't leave it varchar max. All of those things and decisions that they do, you need to be looking at that and evaluating what you're doing from a performance perspective. I'm a more performance guru. All of those things, looking at developers' code all of the time. And it's those things that I try to catch and look at. But it's really looking at what your standards are. What you put into everything, is it still relevant? Once you write everything and you start to see what your data is that's coming in, maybe you need to reevaluate and make those changes before you go live. Be cognizant of what the data is that's coming in, not just making something work. Making something work is so important for developers, right? You got to get from each stage. It's so important, right?
Yeah. So we are all really all the time. Goal is just to make it work. The first thing, because there's somebody asking, is it done? Is it done? Right. Most of the software developers, and me being a programming background, there's manager, call it lead, whatever. When you start programming and you don't have experience, you're like, okay, can you get this done in like 2 days? Yeah. Is it done? Is it done? So our goal is just whatever we copy, go to Google, find code, copy, paste, put some stamp, whatever table. If we need, sometimes don't write a store procs if nobody tells us. Just write inline SQL query and make it work.
Yes, I've seen all of that.
That's great advice. So talking about performance, right? So we always see that, when guys are, rushing things down, rushing to pushing this code to the, make it work. Mm-hmm. And then here comes the time when you go live and people, users, customers start using it. And that's when the things happen. That's when things start failing. There's like crash going on. even on C Sharp Corner website, sometimes we launch this new control which is loading data. So, and things start failing because there's thousands of people now using it.
Mhm.
So is there, when you look at this process of building these high performance scalable websites or applications, do you have some kind of standard or some kind of tools to test that, or is just some expert has to go look at that? What are the things you do in your day-to-day work?
So, when you guys are working through your platforms, right? You go from your development to your QA to your testing, and then you go to prod. A lot of people miss the QA or the user testing, and then they just jump to prod. So when you're developing, you're used to working with a small subset of data, and you may not have covered all of the examples that could be coming through. So I think it's important to have code reviewers, first of all, right? You don't automatically put your code in because you need that second set of eyes. I know it works, but somebody else needs to look at it for performance. That's where, as a consultant, I come in. That's my favorite thing to do. Let me look at your stuff and performance tune it and tell you, different things to watch for in your next set of code that comes through. I love that. It's so much fun. But I think testing is important. And then going back through after something goes live, regression testing. Look and see if something, regresses over time. Don't just push it out and say it worked. Look at it over a trend and see, as the data amounts build, is there something we need to do? Is there an index that needs to be changed? Is maybe a function not working right as a function and it needs to come back as inline code? There's things that need to always be evolving. It's not a write it, push it out, and don't touch it again, which happens a lot. But you can always get people. There's a lot of performance companies out there that can look and performance test your code for you. There's consultants like myself that come in and do code reviews and things like that for performance, especially on the SQL Server side, right? When you're writing procs and things like that. There's great tools. If you're using SQL Server, there's a thing called Query Store that goes and watches your queries, and you can do, it gathers a bunch of data in the background, and it'll show you regressions of a stored proc over time. And you can figure out, and it shows you the execution plan, how to tune it and make it better. So it's knowing what tools are out there. I'm not huge on the developer side. I can't tell you, the whole life cycle of the development tools that are out there for you to test. But I think it's just important that it's not a write it, turn it over, and don't reevaluate, which happens a lot, even if that requires you a team or one person of a code review that watches for that.
So this query store, is that a third party or is it part of SQL Server?
It's part of SQL Server. It's built in from 2016, SQL Server 2016 and above.
Yeah.
It's there and it's fantastic. I use it all the time when I'm tuning myself. I'll show the before I touched it, and after I tune it, the after, and I can show you this big, it gives you a little bubble circle, and then you get the smaller bubble circle, and you can actually show, wow, that's a big difference. It gives a visual. People are very visual. So
yeah, I don't think,
it's great.
I don't think a lot of developers know. Are there any other tools available in latest version of SQL Server, say 2019? Those are, they're new, and developers or DBAs are not used to knowing them, and they're still doing things the way they used to do always.
So not necessarily tools. When it comes to things like Query Store, they're constantly building and making things better. There's X events where they're constantly building things and making things better. They're doing things more inside the engine now to automatically tune for you, to give you more information to make things faster. If you're on 2019, there's a lot of performance things that have happened that people may not be aware of that could be already making your stuff faster without you knowing it. So without getting into, real technical things of, I could give you a 2-hour session just on performance tuning inside SQL Server. But if you're able to go up to 2016, going and having the ability to have Query Store, world of difference for you to be able to analyze your code as a developer.
Yep. So when I was in college, I read this thing that data is information, right? How you convert from data and it becomes information.
Mm-hmm.
But today's world, data is not information, data is intelligence. And as Simon said earlier, like data is everything now. You don't use applications to find out what people are using. You use data to do all that, right? Mm-hmm. So, what in the world of intelligence you see you're doing, or you see it's coming in our viewers who are watching this? What is your advice to them when it comes to using databases or data in terms of intelligence or AI or machine learning or BI? Is there what do you see, like where it's going to go, and is there future, and should they be learning that?
Oh, there's no question they should be learning that, right? Everyone wants to take advantage of the data out there and how it can get them one step ahead. Companies are looking at machine learning like crazy. Things like graph databases, huge, right? Things like learning Python so you can navigate for machine learning to be able to make forecasts and decisions on how many employees they need, how many people do they expect for reservations for their hotel. All of this stuff helps companies project what to expect, which in turn saves them money, right? So definitely, if you are getting into the data realm, look at the machine learning and look at business intelligence, Power BI, knowing how to show what the data is telling you in a way that your executives and C-level can understand, right? Everybody wants pictures. Everybody wants to see what those numbers actually mean. Take the time. It's worth learning. Our jobs are not going away, and it's just going to grow and grow and grow and grow. It's definitely worth investing your time, regardless of what facet of data you get into. It's market gold, right?
All right. So I think you both guys really talked about that all professional stuff on how you started your journey with. I mean, Mahesh would go and tell that he had 23 years of experience in that. Maybe something that is at my age, maybe around. So surely something I am not the exact part of the show. But we have a couple of questions coming from the comments, Monica. Maybe you would like to answer that. There's one from Srikant that he says. Let me bring it in the live. That what's the best in performance wise between subquery versus joins?
So you guys are going to stump me. What did we say about technical questions on a Sunday morning where I've only had one cup of coffee, people?
There's a bunch of questions coming now.
So the answer is it depends. It really depends what it is. Your joins to me are better than doing a subquery, but it depends on what you're doing. What your data is doing. Without looking at code, I cannot give you a decisive answer because sometimes subqueries are important, sometimes the joins are important. But the key is making sure you're joining on the right columns. Make sure you have enough columns in those joins to bring your data down to the smallest facet as possible. Make sure you're not using functions within your joins that create scans that make you read every single row when you're only looking for a subset, right? Making sure things are indexed properly. All of that makes a huge difference on performance, whether it is subqueries or joins. So that's as far as I'm going to go into for that because I'm not looking at the code, and I'm going to say it depends, which is our normal answer.
All right. So, Monica, you write a lot of content on C# Corner, and you have been a featured columnist. I was just going through your C# Corner profile and just look at some of the top articles that you have. And one of the very interesting article that got my attention is SQL Server updates tricked me for years, right? Then that is an article that is pretty interesting. So, would you like to go ahead and talk about? I can maybe just share my screen and then. You can
oh my gosh, we're going into technical again. What did we say, Simon?
That was a trick. That was a trick to get you here, huh?
To get me on here, right? So when you apply and upgrade SQL Server, you add patches and stuff. There's a safeguard, and I don't remember what version. I wrote that article quite a long time ago. And I believe that was talking about you have to kind of tell it you want to apply that update, or it really doesn't apply the update for you. You think it did because you've done the whole install, but there's a safeguard and there is an actual flag that you have to change. And I can't think of it right off the top of my head that tells it, yes, go ahead and accept those changes and pull it forward for you. So you can provide the link if you want in the chat. I can't recall, exactly what it is right offhand.
I mean, exactly you answered right? I mean, you wrote this article a couple of years back, and this is exactly what you have written. Article I've shared in the comments too. Taking you away from the technical questions, Monica, right? I'm not gonna push you anything like the code performance test. There are a couple of questions here. Let's talk about the community part, right? You have said in the past that you started this community work and speaking just like only from past 5 years, right? But now you are a C# Kunnar MVP. You said you have traveled to India, Thailand, across the globe. You are also a Microsoft MVP. So how did you actually start your journey into this whole community part?
Somebody made me. No.
Oh my goodness. I hope it's not my issue.
So as far as writing and speaking, I was at my local user group meeting for SQL Server, and the person running it at the time asked me to speak, and I said I didn't have a topic. I have no idea. Nobody wants to hear me speak. Everybody knows everything already. Somebody's already written about it, talked about it. What do I have to offer? And he said, you're speaking in August. And I said, okay. And it was June, so I had to come up with something. And I gave my first presentation. And then somebody asked me, hey, maybe you should blog about a problem you had, right? Or something. So they said, you should really do this. And they kind of pushed me, and I wrote my first blog. And then I was hooked. I absolutely loved it. Now I like to really put short blogs out there that are direct to the point. This is what I wish I knew when I was looking for something, growing up as that lone DBA, right? I wish somebody had something out there. So I pretty much write a lot of my blogs and content for me so I can remember what it was. So I started with that and then just kept building and building. And I try to put out a blog a week. I try. With COVID, it's really gone down a lot because I'm so busy. But I just started building with that. And then I spoke for the first time at a conference, and I got that speaker high. You get so excited when you see somebody in the audience that gets it. You're like, yes. And then I just wanted to do more and more. And now I do probably 12 to 18 events a year, normally on site when we can. And I've been able to build from that. And it's those contributions that have gotten me the C# MVP and the Microsoft MVP. And what I do now is try to contribute as much as I can to help those who knew nothing or didn't know what they didn't know, and try to put some of that knowledge out there for everybody else.
So you just mentioned Microsoft MVP, right? And I'm assuming obviously you are MVP in data.
Yes.
If somebody wants to become a Microsoft MVP, what do they have to do? Is there any criteria for that? How does that work?
So there's no set list of checkoff items that you have to do. It's all about reach and some technical knowledge and your impact, and it's contributing to everybody else around you. So Microsoft has this fantastic program where we're able to work with engineers behind the scenes. We're able to contribute to the community. They help amplify us, but there's no set. It's not that you have to write 100 blogs or you have to speak 10 times. You have to write a book. It's none of that. There's just what you contribute. They look at what you've contributed over time, and somebody has to nominate you. And then you get evaluated, and maybe you get shot down and you don't, but you keep moving forward. Becoming an MVP is not a requirement. It's not a goal. It's a, hey, awesome. I'm really glad I have this and I'm able to give back to the community amplified, right? So
what are the benefits for becoming MVP? Like, how did you get benefit? Is it like a bunch of money comes in a truck your way, or what is this?
Oh my God, I wish there was money involved. There is not money involved. So it's more of a recognition for what you give back. It allows us to really give input to the engineers that are writing the code. And to me, that's important, being able to build and help frame the next part of SQL servers and working with the engineers on that. We're given a lot of insight inside of what Microsoft is doing and the direction that they want to do and stuff like that. I think that's the most valuable thing. And we're working with a set of MVPs where we have distribution lists and stuff. We can kick ideas and problems to each other on a higher level and kind of get information from each other. I think that's the biggest benefit. Yeah, we get a nice little plaque and trophy, which is kind of awesome. And we get some things for the recognition. But I really think the biggest thing is being able to work with Microsoft themselves and help with the path. Right.
So now let's move a little bit, switch to the jobs, right? A lot of guys here, they probably are interested in, jobs. When
Mhm.
you see this, if somebody wants to get into databases or SQL Server, or they're already in there, what do you see the future of job market? And does the MVP program help you also get a better job? I would think so. And I want to, see what you think on that.
So I can tell you, I work for a consulting group, and there's 6 of us, and out of 6 of us, 5 of us are Microsoft MVPs. It's pretty impressive to be able to say that we are in Microsoft MVPs. I think it gives a little credence to our knowledge base, which I think helps. I think the future in data is definitely going in the direction of the cloud. I think everybody needs to take the time and learn the cloud. It's no longer a fad. It's not going away. Future of data is, if you're not going into that direction and understanding it, you're going to fall behind. There will always be on-premises type scenarios where people need to work on the hardware itself and stuff. But if you want to move forward, it's definitely going cloud-based. You need to be focusing on that technology.
So you're saying Azure SQL is probably being more used now or in demand from job side?
Absolutely, especially with COVID, right?
Yep.
Everybody is having to go virtual. They're having to scale up for things. They are having to not go into the office. They are taking the time to get to the cloud now. And you need to be running to the cloud as quickly as you can
Yeah.
from a professional side. So
Yeah, it makes sense, right? If you look at the what we need, like as a even software developers
mhm.
or companies who are building new software or product or innovating in different ways or even apps.
Right.
Looks like every software these days needs some kind of automation. They need some kind of business intelligence. They need some kind of even machine learning, right?
Mhm.
And to me, if you are already using Azure SQL or any database in the cloud, I guess those tools and technologies are already there, available there. So they probably, work easy there. And even look at Microsoft has now Teams.
Mhm.
Microsoft now has Office 365 and all the suites. They all kind of work together in the cloud.
Right.
So that's good. I mean, Simon, it's to you now. Go ahead. You go ahead with your questions.
All right, so we have one. I want to ask technical questions, but there's one question related to the one discussion we're having. That is with. He says, "I'm a beginner C# programmer. I need a book. Please tell me or share a good resource." I mean, not definitely with their email ID, but of course we can discuss in the show. I mean, he's a beginner C# programmer, so what should be his first step to move into this database and all that?
Oh, databases. If you're into books, I know Kaylin Delaney has a really good book. I'm not much of a grab a book and read kind of person. I want to read the blog series. I want to, watch the stuff. I tend to turn over to Pluralsight. There's a Pluralsight thing that has a combination of all kinds of training materials out there specific. I would definitely be looking at that. I would be definitely looking at any free training, virtual classes that you can do out there. I know there's virtual chapters with Inside Pass for new database administrators, things like that. Start looking out there for what you can get. I can't give you a book recommendation because I'm not the one that's going to sit there and stare and highlight at a book all the time.
So I guess the learning path is learn online. There's so many resources out there available online, right? That you can
Correct.
just
Yes.
search anywhere. Pluralsight is definitely being one of them.
Right.
I'm sure Microsoft SQL Server page have a lot of ton of information there as well.
Correct. Absolutely.
Uh, and I believe on C Sharp Corner we have a learn series as well, Simon. Um, okay, so the
Yeah.
goal is really, I don't think reading book is a good idea these days. I think it's more about going online and learning there.
Everybody has a different learning style. So whatever
Yep,
works for you, it's not exactly what works for me. So
yep.
I was just looking at like those 10, 15 machine learning books that I have. It's over there. So like I do read books.
Okay. I mean, books are good to put in a showcase, right?
Right.
Oh my goodness.
I'm watching all these TV shows these days. So many people are online from home, and everybody has a bookcase behind them.
Yep. It's right
Oh
behind me.
yeah.
There's books.
It should
I'm
have a
getting
tag
one.
there called obsolete or expired, because things are in for this data and information and technology is changing so fast. If you have a book that's 2 years old, it's probably obsolete.
Mhm. Yes, that's correct. It changes so fast. So fast.
So, um, so that was for beginners, right? So if I'm a DBA, I've been in doing this for 10 years, managing databases and doing servers and backend and all that. And I see this, some DBAs, they work in these corporate environments. They don't really upgrade themselves to cloud because either their company is not migrating there,
Mhm.
or they are just working on a project, client project, where it's probably old Oracle database, and or it could be one of, I've even seen some machine, mainframe databases there still.
Mhm.
So, what is your advice to those senior database or guys or DBAs who wants to upgrade themselves? How they can get into and get motivated to get into these, self-learning, self-motivating modes?
You have to. So I've seen so many people that say, I only know SQL Server 2012 because we haven't been able to upgrade, or we're on 20 or 2008 R2 and we can't upgrade. So that's all I know. I'm not going to learn the other stuff because we're never going to go there, or I'm not going to learn the cloud because we're never going to go there. And they kind of get stuck in their current environment, current job. In order for you to move on in life, move on in your job, and stay passionate about what you do, you have to take on that self-learning. You have no choice but to go and you can register for Azure free credits, right? Azure gives you, I think it's $200 that you can register for an account and get out there and start playing with it. Get out there and maybe go sign up for one of the Azure certification exams. So you push yourself into learning that new stuff. Nobody's going to spoon feed you the information. No one's going to hold your hand and say, come with me, I need you to learn all of this, because you're still in a corporate environment where they're going to stay in the older versions and not move forward. In order for you to stay happy in your job and feel fulfilled and continue to grow, you have to take on that self-learning, motivation to learn more, because nobody's going to do it for you. And Mahesh, I see that all the time. People tend to stay with what they know and what they have to work on, and they're not constantly looking for that next level. Even when you're a senior and you have mastered everything in your environment, you still have to keep going, because like we're in COVID now, I see a lot of people getting laid off. And then
Yep.
they look at their skill set now and they're like, oh my God, I don't qualify for any of these jobs because I stayed in 2008 R2 for the last 15 years, 10 years, whatever it is, right? Whatever number it
Yep.
really
Yep.
is. So you've
Yeah.
got to prepare yourself for situations like the unknown, what we're doing now.
Yeah, and same thing. I tell anybody who's writing code, right? I meet these developers. They're senior software engineers, and some are architects, and but they're still doing things old ways, right? They have traditional applications running, and they're not learning. And soon, if they don't upgrade themselves, they'll be out of job,
Yep.
because that's the reality. Everything is moving to the cloud. All the it's, you don't just build one application these days. The application you build is, even the data, it has to work with others as well, right? It has to work, it has to transfer data from here and there, and cloud is the best way to do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right, Steve Simons, to you.
All right. So I mean that those are a couple of like technical questions, right? I'll take a pretty simple one. I'm not gonna take from the comments because the guys are just asking about the shape of the data and all that. I'm not gonna push that to you. But here's my question to both to Mahesh and to Monica. Is like you have been into this community for a really long time, right? So sometimes when you work full time as a senior, you have a lot of stuff to do. But how do you actually keep yourself motivated? I mean, if we'll talk about Mahesh, he has been doing this from almost like 20 years, right? That's a really long time. I really do not know how that manages. If I would go and talk about C# corner to anyone, people would say that why the C# corner is even being running, right? I mean, you don't, that's an entire source of knowledge, but how can you run it for 20 years? So my same question is for you, Monica. How do you keep yourself motivated when you work as a full-time as a DPA, and what keeps you motivated?
I just love what I do, right? I've turned it into my hobby, and I'm passionate about it. I don't look at it as a job. When you start looking at something at a job as a job and just a paycheck, it becomes overwhelming and daunting, and you end up hating it. So I absolutely found a niche that I love, which is performance tuning. I get excited about it. I absolutely love what I do. I write about it. I talk about it, and I don't think of the bad stuff that goes along with it. The constant on call, the no vacations because you have your laptop with you, the constant pressure that can come with this. I don't. I'm an optimist, right? I'm a positive person, anyways. I just had to change my mindset in the beginning. You know, you really have to start looking at it as more than just a job. It's a career. And when it's a career, you want to be the best at what you can do, and you want to make it to the next level. And it's all about mindset. That's how I can do it for so long, and how I can still absolutely love it and light up when I talk about a query going from 10 seconds to 3 milliseconds. You know, it's fun. I love it. So,
Yeah, so I agree with Monica's just said, definitely 100%. Uh, One thing I have learned over the years is that even though you are very passionate about something, you love it, there'll be time where you don't just want to do it. There'll be time where like, you know what, that's it, I can't do today. It happens all the time, right? Because you're doing for so long, things get boring. So how do you sustain this process of being contributing to the community for so long? First thing is, in the beginning, as Monica said, you have to find something you're passionate about. It
mhm.
can't be just, it can be forced onto you. You cannot just do this as a work like, oh, I want to write code and share and talk in the community, but if you don't like it, it's not gonna be long run, right? So you have to make sure you like it. Now once you like it, then though it should not be a burden to you, it should be fun, right? So what I usually do, and I used to write a lot on C Sharp Corner, I was running my company, I was also working full time as a consultant, I was writing books, and I was also writing on the C Sharp Corner side by side. So as Monica mentioned earlier, the way my writing style was, if I'm stuck in a problem and I solve that problem, all I did is just write about it, how I did it, because I'm sure somebody else is searching for the same problem. So that's the easiest way you can write.
Mhm.
Number two, I write is something about when I'm learning something new.
Yes.
Because let's say I read these days, I'm learning quantum computing. I just don't have a lot of time, but that's my interest. I want to learn that. So when you learn and write about it while you're doing it, you just end up, learning more and trying to solve some of the problems you stuck yourself, right? So
Mhm.
anything you want to learn something, you start writing about it, and when you write about it, then you figure out, oh shoot, I was wrong.
Yep.
And then when you post it on the website or a blog or wherever, then people ask you more questions. They're like, oh really, let me figure this out. So that then it becomes fun, because first of thing, you're like, you working with it, you're trying to solve a problem, and now people are engaged giving you feedback. So that whole process becomes fun, and
Mhm.
it's like it's not a burden anymore. And then beside that, then over the time, after doing all this, you'll also have to find a kind of, and it's very important to find a people or a group of people or a community that motivates you from time to time when you're down,
Yeah.
because there'll be time when you're just gonna be like not feeling good. So there has to be somebody where you can reach out to, yeah, like, and then get motivated again. One of the big thing from, I was Microsoft MVP for 14, 15 years, and personally it wasn't really much value to me. The only value I got from that was because I wasn't really interacting with the team of developers, because I'm just didn't have enough time. uh, my value I learned from that was I meet these people, awesome people.
Yes.
And I'm not even I it wasn't even learning coding. It was more about learning from them, how do they think, so motivation, and how they're like, it's like that becomes your motivation, right? That's where you get your energy back. So everybody has different way to do things. We all have to find, where do we get that energy from?
Mhm.
For example, If you love pets, maybe you go and feed pets. That's or help dogs and shelters and all that. That may give you energy back, right? Same thing with the when we go to these conferences, when we speak at the events, they all give energy back, even though they take a lot. But when you come back, you just get so motivated. And we
Yep.
go to this Microsoft MVP summit. We used to go, I used to go every year. When you come back, you just like all motivated. You're boost up for one whole year.
Mhm.
So if we don't have those events in life, things will get really bad and like boring and stale. So we have to keep doing all those things. And once in a while, you just take breaks. Just shut it off. That's very important, right? Um, you just don't have to. If you sometimes you don't feel like, don't do it. It has to be when you feel like, when you can do it. Uh, and after that, the last thing is when you keep doing so long, it becomes your habit.
Mhm.
So right now, my habit is if I don't write anything in a few days, I feel like I've done nothing. I could be doing a lot of projects, I could be helping clients, I could be getting paid, all that stuff. But if I don't write or I don't do anything community, I feel like this week was pretty bad. So once it becomes habit, then it's fun
I
because
totally
then
agree with what you said, Mahesh. I have a group of, so I went to a past summit back in 2011, and I met a group of people. We were all, pretty mid-level of our careers, but I met a group of people sitting in beanbag chairs at the community zone, and we just started talking. We ended up exchanging information, and now I talk to them every day. We have a Google Hangouts, and now they're some of the biggest names inside the SQL Server community right now. And we all grew up to this together. But we call ourselves our SQL tribe, right? We are the same people that give each other energy. We're the
yep.
ones that we can gripe to. We're the ones we can turn to. We're the ones that can help us with other problems. We drag each other with each other to the next step in our careers. But you're right. They are my energy. And there's no way I could have had my career without it. Networking and doing stuff at these events, like you said, going to MVP Summit, getting that energy back from all the other people who are like-minded with you, huge motivation. That is an excellent, excellent point.
Yeah, and Simon, to add to that, even in Indie, like C Sharp Corner, we do a bunch of events at schools and villages in helping kids and people who don't have anything. That it all fuels back to you. Like, look how fortunate I am,
Mhm.
and look at these guys. So I think I need to go back and do more. Other if we forget that route, like okay, and don't look at the people, then you just forget and you live in your own world. That's when you kind of get, lose focus. But it's important to go back and see, okay, look at this guy, this their stage, and look at me. I think I need to do more, and that kind of keeps you have to find a fuel, right? It's like we are like machines. I compare people as machines, right? Any car, for example, you're driving a car, you're going to drive to like a long journey. You have to fuel in between, you have to make sure car is clean, you have to upgrade, you have to get new tires. Otherwise what happens? Car is not going, it's gonna be rusty, and you're not flat tires and all that.
Wow. I mean,
So
yeah. I want to hear more. I mean, I want you both to keep
there
on
is a
talking.
there
I'll
is
be
a
back.
one episode just on
Yeah.
that, like
Exactly.
what human can learn from machines, especially computers.
That's amazing. I think here in India, I mean, for on behalf of C Chef, we have been doing a lot of community events. We go to countrysides and we talk to school kids, the underprivileged. And what about the COVID-19 Light Up Conference we are having? I mean, it's all for the same. It's for the fundraisers. I think Monica really doesn't know about this Light Up Conference, right? So there's a light up conference coming on the 14th of July. It's a 24-hour conference with over 200 speakers running in more than 10 different time zones across the globe in English, Spanish, Hindi, and a couple of more languages we are doing. And all this for free of cost, just to raise funds for those who have been affected by COVID-19. As you said, people have been laid off or because of this pandemic. So if any way we could help them or maybe help the people who have lost their jobs here in India, the things are a little bad. Things are not as good. People may not have those skilled jobs. So that is something our next key focus is, right, Mahesh sir, the 14th of July.
Yeah, so Manpreet, it was actually Manpreet's idea. Manpreet is one of our MVPs, C Sharp Corner MVPs in Philadelphia. He runs Philadelphia chapter. He's also Microsoft MVP for several years. Uh, he runs his own user groups as well, focused around Microsoft Teams and um, Power Platform. So we were both talking and like, yeah, C Sharp Corner needs to do something about pandemic. He's like, we definitely need to do that. So we kind of combined with several other communities, local user groups, combined this event called Light Up event. And idea was really to make it big event, 24 hours nonstop, from every country, um, and have some bunch of speakers, have some sponsors. People can also donate using, it's free event, but people can donate, and there's option there, donate option. And all the we have partnered with a couple of non-profit charities. I think which one is the we partner with, Simon?
UNICEF.
UNICEF is one, and we were talking to a couple of more. So the funds will go direct to UNICEF. And really, idea is, we want to make it big. We want to make it everywhere, and kind of help and light up some people's lives who needs help, especially children. And it's on 14th July, 14th, 15th July. You want to share a screen, Simon, so
Yeah,
our
I'll do
viewers
that.
can.
Uh, Let me just pull up the conference website. So, which again means, Monica, as you said, behind the scenes, 14 and 15. I'm not sleeping.
Yeah, so Simon's been working. That's why we need young guys, because he has so much energy. He's like 24 hours he's working, but looks like he works 48 hours in a day.
You both might have worked a lot more harder than me in this age.
What do you
All
mean
right,
at
so we
this
have
age?
this.
There you go.
I mean, when you were at my age. All right, so this is the conference, Light Up Virtual Conference. We started 14th of July, 9 a.m. EST. It's supported by UNICEF, and all the funds could go directly to the UNICEF. We still have the speakers registration open, so you can click on this and go to Sessionize and submit your. And here's the speakers list, guys coming from across the globe. We have, this is more of like a Microsoft stack. It may be AI, DevOps, the storage. So most of it content is based on Microsoft technologies. And the website still needs to be updated because there are a lot more speakers coming in. There are, right now, I think we have around 100 speakers on the website. We'll add a couple of more. And for now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 tracks with Spanish track 2. There's Hindi and more languages coming. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And let's see how this goes.
That's fantastic. I already recognize some of those names. I'll reach out to some of my friends that are speakers as well, and we'll see if we can get you a few more sessions.
Yeah, it's all Microsoft focused, so that's a good thing. Is it's everything from coding to data to AI, machine learning, Teams, SharePoint, pretty much everything. We just want to give everybody platform to talk, and it's for a cause. So it's more is less. So that's another topic. I have one topic, just title is more is less. I have so many things coming up in this, and I will be busy then.
You can write a title, like a book.
Yeah.
That's for the title for the live shows.
This is more is less very interesting. It will say how, and then one is less is more, right? The other way around, right? If you so we'll this is good. So I'm very excited about all these shows we are coming up, and very interesting.
I think we are almost like with time now, with 56 minutes for the live show. It was scheduled 45 minutes. Anything I would really like to thank Monica for coming on this Sunday morning. Any last but you both like to have, and I'll just wrap it up.
I wanted to address something. Somebody put a question about no lock in the comments. I urge all your developers to take no lock out of your standards. Please don't use no lock. It introduces dirty data into your process. If you're going to use no lock, please do all the research you can before you start putting it into your code. There's a lot of misinformation out there that people think no lock needs to be on every line of their code. which is the first thing I take out when I look at somebody's code. So please, if you're going to use no-lock, research, and understand exactly what it is. Otherwise, rip it out. Do not put it in as a standard. I talked about that earlier about some standards that have been long-term used. So that's definitely one to rip out of your standard base. But that's what I wanted to address real quick. But it's been awesome to be with you guys. I think these are really great things to have on a Sunday morning. Thank you so much for having me. If you guys have any follow-up questions, you guys know how to reach me on C# Corner. All of these technical questions that you asked, feel free to always reach out to me. And Simon and Mahesh, if we ever want to do this again, just let me know. I think you guys are doing great stuff with C# Corner. I rave about C# Corner all the time. The other communities that we do, that I'm in, you guys do things a little different, which I think is fantastic. The platform that you give to all of us to speak out on is a worldwide network that we wouldn't be able to reach if it wasn't for people like in platforms like C# Corner. So thanks so much for having me, both of you. And I continue to look forward to what else I can do with C# Corner as the time goes on.
Well, thank you so much, Monica. It was great. And again, our goal is simply we want to humanize the technical people. Okay. Because when I see sometimes technical people are so not human, sometimes they live in their own world. And our focus has been always in people who are involved with the communities. Like, come on, make it fun. Let's be like a human people. You can be nice. You don't. I understand that you're expert. I understand you are pro. I understand you know better coding than other guys. Doesn't mean you cannot be a nice person, right? So that's our theme, is that, okay, we want people make sure how you can be a nice techie guy. And with that, Simon, it's all you.
Otherwise, I think that's a wrap. We had an amazing 60 minutes, and this Sunday looks very interesting. You guys gonna start your Sunday, and ahead my place it ends. So thank you everyone who has joined us today. It was an amazing session from you, Monica. I, Stephen Simon, on behalf of the entire C# Corner community and its millions of users, would like to thank you for your valuable time and your contributions towards the community. We would love to have you back once again. Till then, stay safe. Have a happy Sunday, and goodbye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, I need to have this too, right? Oh, mine is spill proof.
More.
All right, I got mine. All right, guys. Thank you.